Hi guys, welcome to fourth lecture session of Java Server Pages. In this lecture, we are going to deal with Java Server Pages directives. Mainly, this directives are used to control the processing of entire JSP page. In short, we can redefine the JSP directives as which gives directions to the server regarding the processing of a particular page. There are three categories of JSP directives. Already we stated in lecture session 2 with respect to directive elements. There are three JSP directives, namely page directive, include directive and taglib directive. The page directive defines the page dependent attributes such as session tracking, error page, or how to handle the exceptions and buffering requirements. Whereas the second directive called as include directive, which includes a file during a translation phase. The third directive called as tag lib, which declares a tag library containing the custom actions or custom tags that is used in the current page. I repeat, there are three categories of JSP directives, namely page directive, include directive and taglib directive. Page directive is responsible for defining a page dependent attributes such as session tracking, error handling, defining the exception handling, what page has to be accessed or which page is responsible for handling the exceptions, and buffering requirements. These are few examples for page directive. The second one is include directive, which is responsible for including a file during the translation page or translation phase. The third category is called as taglib directive, which is used to declare a tag library which contains a custom actions or custom tags that is used in the page. In this following lecture content, we are going to deal in detail about these three JSP directives called as page directive, include directive and taglib directive. This page directive, there are several attributes in the page directive which is used to maintain the session tracking, error page, as already we stated, exception handling in the current page and what page has to be accessed or processed for exception handling and buffering requirements. Totally there are 13 attributes. Among that, most of the books and online resources illustrates 7 types of page directives, namely 1. Import page directive, number 2. Session page directive, 3. Is error page directive, 4. Error page directive, 5. Content type page directive, number 6. Is ThreadSafe page directive, number 7. Extends page directive, number 8. Info page directive, number 9. Language page directive, number 10. AutoFlush page directive, number 11. Buffer page directive. These are the very basic 11 attributes in page directives which we are going to deal in the subsequent topics. The first, import page directive. This attribute is used to import packages. Either you can use, by using this import page directive, you can import one package at a time, that is one package at the same place separated by commas. If you want to go for more than one package, either that is by using this import keyword, we can able to import a package in a line. If not, the subsequent second line can be used for importing another package. This is the first option or first example, first approach. Whereas by using the import keyword, we can able to import more than one package in a same line separated by using commas. See here, this is the syntax, that is angular bracket, here angular bracket followed by percentage symbol at. Please note down here, the for page directives, this is the syntax to be followed. Angular bracket, percentage symbol followed by at symbol, then the page keyword followed by import equal to value, and ends with normal JSP scriptlet called as percentage symbol followed by angular bracket. Here the value represents the name of the package has to be imported. The example of import, the following is an example of how to import more than one package using import attribute of a page directive. See here, the line number 1 and 2, the line number 1 imports the package called as java.io. As we know that IO stands for input and output. The line number 1 imports the input and output package of Java. You just note down here the syntax for importing a package is angular bracket, percentage symbol followed by at symbol, then the page keyword, then import equal to value. Here the value represents the package to be incorporated. Here in the first line we are importing a package called as java.io .star. That star represents all the classes in IO package. At last, the JSP scriptlet ends with percentage symbol followed by angular bracket. This is line number 1. Coming back to the line number 2, here we are importing a package called as lang package, language package, java.lang.star. The same notation is followed here. Angular bracket, percentage symbol, at symbol followed by page. This is a syntax to be followed for importing a package using the page directive. In the second line, java.lang.star, that is a language package, is imported. The line number 3 represents a comment line in JSP. As already we noted that angular bracket followed by percentage symbol, then hyphens, two hyphen, it represents the starting of the command. And please see the end of the line, third line, that is hyphen, again percentage symbol followed by angular bracket. This is the end of the command line in JSP. Third line represents the just a command line. Coming back to this fourth line, where both the packages java.io and java.lang both are being incorporated by using an import statement in the same line, that is import equal to java.io.star comma then java.lang.star. Here please note that here comma, instead of using two import statements, that is two page directives, in the same line itself as many number of packages can be imported by separating with comma. Here the delimiter used is comma. This is what the page directive says. That is the first page directive is import. Now we are moving to the second page directive called as session. Here the session directive or the session tag is mainly used to maintain the user credentials between the pages. How we will define the word term session means it is a stipulated duration of time between the login and logout. For example, you just think about it, you are logging in into your Gmail account and you will be once you logged in, you will be taken to the inbox page where you can able to check your mail and delete the mails which is unwanted and read the new mails or compose the message, and what else the requirements you want to do, you do it. Once you log out, the time elapsed between the login and logout is said to be as session. That is, it is a stipulated period of time. It is said to be as session, and that too it is very important for online transactions to maintain the user credentials between the pages. When you are login, then when you are doing online transactions, say call it as either it may be a bank account transactions or online fund transfer or online purchase or e-commerce transactions where it deals with money transactions, then it becomes very important for you to maintain this session. That means your user credentials will be maintained between the pages. Mainly, this attribute is used to handle HTTP sessions for JSP pages. That is, the session attribute is used to handle HTTP sessions for JSP pages. By default, its value is true. See here, the default value for this attribute is true. This value may be either true or false. The default value for the session attribute is true, which means that if you do not mention any attribute, server means here the web server may assume that HTTP session is required for this page. If you don't want to set the session value for a current page, then this default value has to be changed to false instead of true. Please make a note of it. The default value for this session attribute, that is this session attribute, is true. The syntax is angular bracket percentage symbol at page. As of now, the page, same the page keyword you were using it, whereas the earlier directive what we saw is import. For that, the same notation also, syntax also is followed. Angular bracket percentage symbol at symbol followed by page, where the keyword alone is replaced. Where there we are using import equal to value. Here the import equal to value is for page directive, whereas session equal to value for session directive. Here session equal to value, by default its value is true. If you don't want to set a session for the current page, then it has to be turned off by using session equal to false. See here, the above code would allow a page to have a session implicit objects, that is angular bracket percentage symbol at symbol, then page session equal to true. If you are setting it as false, that is if the code is specified in the JSP page, it means session object will not be available for that page, hence session cannot be maintained for the page. Whenever you are not need of security for transactions, then this session can be set as false. If you are purposefully going for any enforcing the security between the pages, then the session has to be set as true, and it is very mandatory for online transactions where the user credentials is very important for to be maintained between the pages. Now we are moving to the third directive called as isErrorPage. The first one is implicit, the second one is session, and we are moving to the third directive called as isErrorPage. This attribute is used to specify whether the current JSP page can be used as an error page for another page. See here, this page can be used as an error page for another JSP page. For example, see here, if this value is set as true, that means that this page can be used as an exception handling for some other page. Generally, these pages has errors or warning messages, or even it can be used for exception handling mechanisms being called by another JSP page. That means, in short, whenever there is an error in some other pages, the pages which is set as isErrorPage as true can be used as an exception handling page. That means during errorness situations, this page will take care the precautionary materials or the precautionary steps to be followed at the time of errors, or that's what we call it as exception handling. There is another use of isErrorPage attribute, that is the exception implicit object can only be available to those pages which has this isErrorPage set as true. See here, the default value for this attribute is false unless otherwise it is set as true. Unless otherwise it is set as true, the implicit object can only be available to the subsequent pages. If not, the other end, that is if the value is set as false, the page cannot be used for exception handling mechanism, that is exception implicit objects. The syntax for here isErrorPage is as usual the same notation, angular bracket percentage symbol at symbol, then page isErrorPage is a keyword here equal to value. Either this value may be true or false. The example is, see here, this error page, if you are setting it as true, this makes the current page where this tag resides. That is, be clear where this tag resides in the page. For example, if this tag resides in the page called as index.html, or for example I am saying it need not be index.html, it can be of first.html, some page, then this page can be used for handling an exception. When there is any error or when there is an error in some other pages, this page can be used as an exception handling page for the errors being occurred in some other pages. This is the third JSP directive called as isErrorPage. Moving to the fourth page directive, JSP directive called as error page. The fourth one, when is error page attribute is set, that is, when is error page attribute is true for a particular page, then only those pages are called by another page in case of an exception. The necessity for error page is that, see here, the error page attribute is used to specify the URI. URI stands for Uniform is Resource Locator or Identifier, URL or URI, of a corresponding JSP page which has is error page set to true. That is, the whenever there is a possibility of error in a specific page, it has to lead to the corresponding exception handling mechanisms. That's what is being represented here. Is error page attribute is used to specify the URL of JSP page which has is error page attribute set to true. Whenever there is an error in the current page which is being represented by error page tag, then it has to redirect to some other page where is error page attribute is set as true. Coming back to the syntax of error page, as already stated, the general syntax is maintained as such: angular bracket, percentage symbol, at symbol, followed by page. Up to here is a keyword, then error page equal to value. Here error page equal to value. Error page equal to value. Here the value is a JSP page name which has exception handling code, where that is error page is set to true. This is very mandatory. If error page is set to true only, then the page is responsible for handling the exception handling mechanisms. If not, there is no any possibility at all. For example, see here this code. Here error page equal to exception handling dot JSP. This means if any exception occurs on a JSP page where this code resides, or where this code has been placed, then at the time of exception handling, the exception handling dot JSP page where or whose is error page is set is true page needs to be called. Got it? Once again I am repeating, whenever you are placing this line, this line of code in the current page called as index.html, you are incorporating the line which is now highlighted. Whenever there is an exception, then it calls a file called as exception handling.jsp for handling that exception. Whenever you are calling such pages, you please remember that this page has set with a value called as is error page true. Then only the corresponding exception handling will be caught and processed subsequently without any other errors or troubles. Moving to the next JSP directive called as content type. Here this attribute is used to set the content of a JSP page. The default value is either text or HTML. The default value of this content type is either text or HTML. See the syntax here. Here the content type equal to value. Here the value of the content type can be of anything, such as either it can be a text or HTML or text or XML. That's what. Either it may have text or HTML, or that's what that in between slash represents. Either the value may be of either text or XML. Here see the example. Here if you want to represent either text, either the following contents deals with either the text or XML means, then it has to be dealt with text/SML. If not, if the following content may be processing with text or HTML, then the syntax has to be followed. That is angular bracket percentage symbol at followed by page, then content type equal to text/HTML within double quotes, then the JSP tag ends with percentage symbol and angular bracket. This is what the fifth JSP directive says, that is the content type. Now moving to the sixth one is ThreadSafe. That is, it means that the JSP page supports multi-threading if it is set as true. As we know that Java supports multi-threading, likewise and similarly JSP also supports multi-threading. If the corresponding JSP file has to support multi-threading, then this JSP tag is ThreadSafe has to be set as true. See here Let us understand this with an example. Suppose you have to create a JSP page and mention is ThreadSafe as true. It means that the JSP supports multi-threading. That means more than one thread can execute the JSP page simultaneously. On the other hand, or else if not the later part, if it is set as false, if it is set as false, then JSP engine won't allow multi-threading such that always only a single thread will execute the code. That is, the default value is true. That is, please note here, the default value for is thread safe directive is true, such that always by default it supports multi-threading. See the syntax here, angular bracket %@ at followed by page, the keyword is thread safe equal to value. Here the value may be either true or false. If you are setting it as false, multi-threading is not possible. That is, it ensures always only a single thread is executed in the JSP engine. Conversely, if it is set as true, then JSP page supports multi-threading. Moving to the 7th page directive called as buffer. It is used to specify the buffer size. It is used to specify the buffer size. If the buffer size is not at all specified by default, see here, in this example, the syntax here is angular bracket %@ at page buffer equal to value. If you are not at all specified anything else, no issues at all. After the calculation directly, or calculation or calibration directly, the value from the after the processing of JSP file, it is moved or incorporated into the response object, such that the response object will be taken to the client side. If not, if you want to delimit or limitation, if you want to enforce limitation of the data being processed or transferred from the JSP file after the processing to the client side, then we can specify the size of the buffer in KB, kilobytes. For example, see here, if you are making this angular bracket %@ at page buffer equal to none, means there is no any buffer for this page. If I want to specify the buffer size for the current page as 5 KB, that is 5 kilobytes, then this is the syntax. Angular bracket %@ at followed by page, the keyword, after that buffer equal to 5 KB represents the buffer size of 5 KB for a particular page. You may be asking, sir, what is the need for specifying it? Even though you are not at all specifying any buffer size, no issues at all. After the processing, as already stated, that is, once the processing is over, or once the processing is being completed by the JSP engine, the corresponding JSP page incorporates the processed data, or incorporates the data is made available to the response object, or incorporate the process data into response object, such that it is being moved to the client side with the help of browser. If not, there won't be any buffer size in between the processed data and the response object. Directly the process data is being injected into the response object, so that again those data are taken to the client through the browser. For just delimiting the data, delimiting the processed data, we are using this buffer keyword. Now moving to the next tag called as extends. Very similar to Java, here is also another attribute called as extend for inheriting the class. See here, this is the syntax for inheriting the class. That is, extends keyword is used, and here the value represents the class name has to be inherited. The same Java notation we will be using here for inheriting the class using the keyword called as extends. Here the value represents a class name which resides in the corresponding package. See the syntax, angular bracket %@ at followed by page, then extends equal to value. Here extends is the keyword and value is the class name to be inherited. Example, see here, the following code incorporates or inherits the sample class from the package called as my package. See the code here, angular bracket %@ at page, extends is the keyword, and the class name, the sample class is the class name which resides in the package called as my package. We are extending, that means inheriting the class called as with a name or class named sample class which resides in a package called as my package. Then moving to the next JSP directive called as info, which is used to provide the description of a JSP page. Mainly, if you want to get the information about the corresponding page, then we'll be dealing with this JSP directive called as get servlet info method. The string specified in the info will return when we call this function. See here, the string specified in the info. What is that info? Info is the information about the servlet being processed. See that info equal to value. This value here is either it may be a message or a description about the corresponding servlet which has to be processed. See this example. The example of the info attribute. See here, the angular bracket percentage symbol at, then page info equal to the what else the description has to be done, we'll be incorporating within double quotes. This code is given by Chaitanya Singh. This is what where we copied or we compiled the content from the online resources. At the end, as already stated in the beginning lectures, the references of where the materials are being compiled is being given at the end of the lecture session in this site itself, so that users who else is interested can have a look at those references for further reading or further processing. Coming back to the next JSP directive called as language, which is used to specify the scripting language being used in the current page. See here the variable value is the language and its corresponding value is the value of the language being used. Is the value is the scripting language being used here. See the example for it. Angular bracket percentage symbol at followed by the page. Up to here is the keyword. Then language equal to Java. If I'm using the Java, the corresponding language is being represented within double quotes. If not, if you are going for incorporating JavaScript, accordingly JavaScript has to be represented here. Then the next JSP directive is AutoFlush. If it is set to true, it means that buffer should be flushed whenever it is full. It means that whenever it is set, if it is set means it means that buffer should be flushed whenever it is a full. Whenever it is not set, that means if it is a false, then it will throw an exception when the buffer overflows. See, please make a note of it here. The default value for AutoFlush is true. That is, you just see the syntax, angular bracket percentage symbol at page AutoFlush equal to value. Here by default the value may be true or false, whereas the default value for the AutoFlush is true. Example for AutoFlush attribute. See here, buffer will be flushed out when it is full. That is, by whenever you are setting it as true, then whenever the buffer will be flushed out, or when this becomes full, the buffer will be flushed out automatically. If it is set as false, then it will throw an exception when the buffer overflows. Coming back to the next JSP directive, the 12th one, as already stated, most of the online resources and books represents only the very basic 11 types of page directives what already we discussed. This 12th and 13th, subsequently what we are going to see is deprecated, and it is not that much important, but anyhow we'll see this. Is scripting enabled? This is the deprecated tag. That means it is not in use as of now, and that means it is being dropped and not in use, mainly used for checking or ensuring that whether the scripting is enabled or not. Then the next one is EL ignored, that is it stands for evaluated. That is, this attribute specify whether the expressions will be evaluated or not. The default value is set as true. For example, see here, that before going for example, just have a look at the syntax. That is, angular bracket percentage symbol at, then page is EL ignored equal to value. Here the value may be true or false. If I am setting it as false, any expressions present inside the JSP will not be evaluated. See here, if it is set as false, that is EL ignored, that is expression will be evaluated or not, we are checking it. If it is set as false, then expressions won't be evaluated. If it is set as true, conversely, or else on the other hand, if EL ignored equal to true, then expression will be evaluated. Since because by default the value is true is default value, so we need to specify. That means by default the expressions will be evaluated. As of now, we had seen the 11 types of page directives. Just I am summarizing it. The first one is import, The first one is import page directive. Second, import is used to import the pages. Second one, session is used to maintain the session of a user between the pages. Third one is error, is used to specify if it is set as true, is error. If it is set as true, accordingly that corresponding page can be used for exception handling of other pages. Error page, where the current page, if it is set, from here we can able to move to some other exception handling pages. The fifth one is content type, mainly is used to specify the type of the content, either HTML or XML or JavaScript. Then is ThreadSafe is the sixth page directive, which is used for specifying the multi-threading option. Either if it is set as true, then multi-threading by default it is set. Then extends is used, the next one, extends is used for extending a class. Then info is used to specify the information of a corresponding servlet. Then the language is used to specify the corresponding language in the JSP file. AutoFlush is used to flush the content when it is being filled. Then the buffer is used to specify the buffer size. Once the content of the JSP page is being processed, it is moved to the buffer, then it is moved to the response object for further processing to the client. These are the 11 categories of page directives. Now we are moving to the include directive. The second category of JSP directive, which is used to copy the content of one JSP page to the another page. See here, include directive is used to copy the content of one JSP page to another JSP page. That is very simple, or in another manner, it is like including the code of one file into another file. The syntax is angular bracket, % symbol at. Later in the first page directive, we used a keyword called as page, that is in page directive, whereas since it is an include directive, the page directive keyword is replaced by a keyword called as include. Please make a note of it here. Here the keyword used is include, then file equal to value. Here the value is the JSP file name which needs to be included. If the file is in the same directory, then there is no need of specifying the entire path, just specify the name. If not, the entire path of the file, that is uniform resource locator or identifier, has to be specified. Here it can be used anywhere in the page, that's what being represented. A very simple example is that here where we can able to use this include directive is whenever we are going for developing a website with a common headers and common footer in all the pages. So accordingly, what else the content has to be displayed in the header and footer or distinct or categorized and created or developed with a corresponding page called as header.jsp and footer.jsp. If a website has 10 pages, then all the 10 pages can be synced with the corresponding header.jsp and footer.jsp, such that all contents will be of unique formatting with the include directives, such that here the value file, that is angular bracket % symbol at include and file equal to value for including the header file or header details header.jsp in the beginning of all the files, and coming to the while at the end of the pages, then you can go for include file equal to footer.jsp, such that in this example I'm saying, in this example all the 10 pages in the website can have unique header and unique footer pages. The third one called as tag lib directive. This directive basically allows to use custom tags in JSP. That is, tag lib directive helps you to declare custom tags in JSP. That is, I am repeating, tag lib directive, this is the third category of JSP directive, is used to declare custom tags in JSP. See the syntax here, angular bracket % symbol at taglib is the keyword, then it deals with URI. URI already stated represents uniform resource identifier or the locator where it leads to, and the prefix tag, the corresponding, it comes with the two values, one is URI, another one is a prefix tag. That is where URI is a uniform resource locator which is used to identify the location of the custom tag where it resides, and the tag prefix is the string which can identify the custom tag in the location identified by URI. See this example here. In this example, the tag lib URI is given, that is http://www.sample.com my custom lib. This is the URI and this is the prefix. If you are seeing this, the line number 2, 3, line number 2, line number 3, 5 and 6 are normal HTML tags, HTML starting and ending of HTML, starting and ending of body tag, whereas the line number 4, it deals with the custom tag, custom JSP tag. See here, as you can see that URI is having a location of a custom tag library, and prefix is identifying the prefix of the custom tag. Here the prefix of the custom tag has to be matched here, such that JSP allows the user for creating a custom tag. We will be dealing with this tag library and the prefix tag in the subsequent libraries. If you want to explore, please refer the corresponding websites and the books, the websites and the online resources specified in the lecture material at the last for further processing. Thank you.